And welcome to another car profile where, if you haven't already guessed, we're looking at the Volkswagen Beetle Gr.3 car. Now, if you're not subscribed already, please do subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the car profiles. We've done a lot now, and the Beetle is the next one we're looking at. It's got a 2-litre inline-4 turbocharged engine. That was a mouthful, but there we have it. It's front-engined rear-wheel drive. I always get that confused with the Beetle for some reason, and it has 7 gears. In terms of the balance performance then, 520 brake horsepower and 1,350 kilograms. So it weighs a lot, but it's also quite powerful there. You can see that with the numbers. Now, in terms of the look of this car, I think it's a fantastic looking car. It really does bring the Gran Turismo vision of a GT3 car to life. You could see this being a real-life GT3 car. In fact, someone has actually built this car in real life, but it does have different powertrain and things like that. But it's nice that it has been built in real life. In terms of this car, though, it does suffer with some power oversteer, as can be seen by those bot figures. Let's jump straight into the lap guide then. Let's talk about this in a bit more detail then, as we go to the low-speed bot test here at Laguna Seca. So what we're looking for here is how good is it in handling. That's what a low-speed test is really. And in terms of this circuit, this has been labeled a low-speed test. Now, we are racing the Porsche 911 RSR. That currently has the fastest lap here, but we don't just look at fastest laps, we do look at Optimums, and we are 1.5 tenths down on that Porsche 911 as we continue through there. Now, I will say this, it did suffer in the first corner with oversteer, okay? I really did have to short shift the car, get out of that corner pretty fine, to be honest with you. Now, third gear is where it really does struggle. Where it doesn't struggle, though, is this kink here. It really loved this kink. It just settled through that very nicely indeed. Now, I think the weight actually helps with that. It plants the car down, it lands quicker, and it's just better for the car. Now, coming into the corkscrew then, this is where it did struggle. FR cars don't normally struggle here too much, but the third gear, you can see it getting a whole load of oversteer there. It just struggles so much with that third gear. It just powers up, spins the wheels, and wants to go around then as we head towards the end of the circuit. We're 3 tenths down on that Porsche 911 as we head towards the final corner. And once again, going into here, all I'm thinking about is the exit and that oversteer that we are inevitably going to get. I'm in second gear there, trying to straighten up as quick as possible as we head towards the line then. And what are we looking at versus this Porsche 911? It's a 121.7, so quite far down there, nearly 5 tenths down on the Porsche 911. But as I say, we look at Optimums in the end because it's very easy to do fast laps, but you're never really going to get everything out the car. If you have all the individual sectors, you can put them together to get an optimal time. And here's the optimal leaderboard there, with the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo is leading that leaderboard. Volkswagen Beetle Gr.3 car comes in P14, and it very much is in slap bang in the middle of the field then with a 121.578. It easily could have gained maybe another 10th, jumped up a little bit more, but that's the whole point of trying to find Optimums here. This is where it sits in terms of this field. We've done 27 cars now. We're really making our way through this Group 3 field. That's it for Laguna Seca then. P14 there at Laguna. Let's jump to Suzuka then, which is the medium speed bot test. We obviously know this because of the first sector, S's, it's all about handling. The second part of Suzuka, more about speed and top end. I went through turn 1 actually, it was really nice. Of course, I had to be careful on the exits, and I got a bit off the circuit there, trying to avoid that, obviously, trying to straighten the car up here, and I did have to bring the car back. However, I am showing you the fastest lap here, so this is the fastest lap. This first sector, not going to be the greatest, and again, this is why we look at Optimums. Now, what we're looking at versus the Toyota GL Supra, which is currently the fastest car here in terms of fastest laps. We are down there by nearly a 10th, but not too shabby, to be honest, versus that Toyota Supra. Both FR cars, of course, and both turbocharged. We head towards Tidgney 1 then. It really liked that bump, you know, it really did. It just settled the car nicely. Had no issues there at all. Now, you do remember the Suzuka was also the Beat the Meta circuit. I delayed doing this test just so the muscle memory goes out of my system, and it's a fair test, of course. We are 1.5 tenths down on that Toyota Supra then, but as you can see there, second sector 20.3, that's up there with the very best then. Leaving at the hairpin, didn't really have any struggles. Second gear was fine. It wasn't actually in the top end of the power band, so it was generally fine. Now, some of you may be thinking about the gear shifting here. I will talk about that when we get to the fuel test, of course, as we go into the left-hander, but you can rev this car, and it does perform as such then. So going into here, second gear, just try and get the car turning a little bit. Up to third gear to try and avoid any power oversteer, because I would have been at the top end of second gear then. As we continue towards the end of sector 3, you can see our Optimum down at 159.392 at the moment as we head towards here then. Just got it a bit more down there, coming into the one. Oh, hello. Offensive, not too shabby actually, 146. I did see a 148 at one point in this session as we go into the Casio triangle then. and looking to finish this lap off very nicely indeed as we continue on out of here. In terms of handling then, in terms of mid-speed corners, handling in general, this car is very nice. It's just third gear is a bit weird, but the third gear also helps it turn as we do cross the line half a second down on that Toyota Supra. But because of that slight wheel spin you can get in third gear, it just helps the car rotate a little bit. So it can be very helpful. It is very hard to control this car, and it is a hard car to drive, I would say. So it's not a car I would recommend to a beginner if you are looking to begin in Gran Turismo 7 in the Group 3 class. Not in the top 10 here. Where does it sit on the leaderboard, though? Some very fast cars there. So it's in that 159.3 range where there's a lot of cars. This is where the mid-pack really sits. Finishing in P16 there. Could have easily gained a couple of thousandths of a second and jumped up. So it's about where it was compared to Laguna Seca as well as we look at the back of the field here. Those that did struggle here at Suzuka. And of course, some of these I did very early on. It may be that we do retest. We are going to retest some of them if the physics ever change or BOP ever changes, of course, because the BOP at the moment is the same across all three circuits. I feel it should change eventually, but we'll see what happens with Gran Turismo 7. So we go to the high-speed test then here, and the turn one at Bathurst was a real struggle in this car. Both second and third gear, the car got loose. You saw a little wiggle there as well. Very hard to do. I did suffer with consistency in terms of this first sector in this Volkswagen Beetle Group 3 car. Now we are racing that Mazda RX Vision GT3 concept. As we cross here then, we are up by half a tenth, but we do need to remember that is a very slow sector time by the Mazda as we go into the right-hander then, looking to continue on with this lap. So going up here, that corner there that we've just done was a real struggle. I had to short shift to fourth to get the best out of the car, but this is where the car starts to benefit a little bit here. Ran a bit wide there in second gear as we leave that corner. A short shift to third is better, and I did that later on in the session. And as we go up here, actually, you didn't have to lift too much here. As you can see there, get very close to the barrier, and coming down here handles it really nicely, to be fair. It really does. Only slight lifts there, and it turns very nicely indeed. I'm not sure whether the short wheelbase is helping here, making it feel more like a go-kart. Got very close to the wall there as we start to head down the hill. Now being FR, it should not struggle down here, and it really didn't actually. It was really nice to drive down here. So for a tiny bit of understeer, but other than that, it was great out of there. We are nearly half a second down on that Mazda, but that Mazda was flying here. It really was. As we go into the Forest Elbow then. Going to continue on out here. Short shift to third. Avoid the second gear power oversteer. We're down in the bottom end at the revs, so it picks up quite quickly. And again, this car you can short shift and you don't really lose that much time. Okay, and you're going to see a bit more of that later on in this video, of course. Let's head towards the line then here. We're 6 tenths down on that Mazda as we head towards Chaser. As we go through this right-hander, we're not really picking up speed here. 168 there at our speed trap that we have. Not quick at all there in a straight line, so it's obviously going to suffer here at Bathurst in terms of that top end speed then, which is a bit weird. You suffer all this power oversteer, but it's just not carrying itself. I assume the weight and the density of the air is just really killing the car in terms of its top end as we continue on out of here then. Heading towards the line. Now, what we're going to get here in terms of lap time then, nearly, well, we are 7 tenths down there, 202.5 right in the middle there, but let's see what it is in terms of Optimums and where it fits on that leaderboard then. CZ4 go flying by here. Right, on the leaderboard, where does it sit? So it's not in the 2-minute 1 category. You can see all the 2-minute 1s here with the Mazda at the top by 1,000. But I'm going to mention that every single time. It's so close between those two. And weirdly, they're partner cars as well. Kind of funny, isn't it? But it does sit P12. It did nearly make it into that top 10 then. So the Volkswagen, very good in terms of the mountain. I did say that before. The only issue you have is the straights. It just struggles on the straights. We didn't get anywhere near 170 miles an hour, and that's the minimum. You know, we'll see some of the top speeds later on when I show you that little table that we've got there. That's it in terms of the circuits, though. We need to look at the fuel test and tyre test now, see if it's got any strengths here. So top left, we've got automatic fuel map 1. Bottom left, automatic fuel map 3. And then top right is half shift, and bottom right is the emergency fuel saving. Of course, half shift plus fuel map 3. Now, obviously, I'm going to mention something here which is critical. This is not a car you drive if you use automatic. It's atrocious, and you're about to see that here as we head towards the 2,000 meter marker. That's where we measure the fuel. Again, with the fuel test, some people go, well, why is it not done more? It's a performance and fuel test, because if you can't fuel save, it's not very good. Now, it's just finished in the top left, 25.2, 49% fuel. Look at top right. It's about to cross the line, half shifting, tiny bit slower, but it saved, what's that, 14% fuel. That's unbelievable. So it shows you can short shift this car, okay, and it doesn't lose that much performance. It really doesn't. It really doesn't indeed. Bottom left's just finished there. And again, bottom right, the emergency fuel saving. Look at the difference there between those bottom two. It's unbelievable. In fact, the Auto and Fuel Map 3 and the Hard Shift are so different, okay, because the Auto Fuel Map 3 actually used more fuel, and we've talked about this loads, and it lost so much performance there. We're now going to put a load of tables in front of you so you get a good idea of what's going on here. And again, I'll talk about performance there. Doesn't make the top 10 here in terms of the maximum RPM. This is the Auto Fuel Map 1 run. And it did stay in 6th gear for a long time. It really did. So it did use a lot more fuel than expected. And you're going to see that there with a 49%. It just struggled. It really did struggle. It has a 7th gear. Automatic didn't change to that. Now, obviously, if I was shifting myself, it would. But this test gives you that idea of how the game is going to change for you. And that's why we're using that test now, rather than me changing at maximum RPM and having slight differences and all that good stuff with human error. So, we don't do that anymore. Automatic there, and you see 49%. However, when you get to the Hard Shift, it's very much up there. So this is a very good fuel-saving car. You can see that it's actually the best in terms of fuel saved in that top 10. It doesn't lose that much performance, and it's very much up there. So the Volkswagen Beetle could be a meta in a fuel-saving race. Yes, you heard that right. We've got a strong car in terms of fuel saving. Very interesting indeed. We're going to go towards the Fuel Map 3 section now. These are obviously the ones that do struggle in fuel races, and I'd highly advise you don't use these in the P21 to P27 range. Right, okay, here we go. Fuel Map 3 doesn't make the top 10 again. And again, it's all because the car is just waiting to change. It has 7 gears, and it doesn't really use it. And it's just not got the performance there when it's trying to save fuel. It really doesn't. Probably carrying too much weight. In fact, it's tied there with a number of cars. It's a Volkswagen Beetle. So tied for P13. And it uses more fuel. And actually, it's in the middle, actually. It's in the middle there. I'm reading this table as I'm commentating over it, of course. However, where does it sit in terms of the emergency fuel savings? So Fuel Map 3 and Hard Shift. This is the big one. This is where you really have to fuel save. It's P9. It actually stays in the 25-second margin. So only 3/10 of that 4GT and saves a substantial amount. In fact, that's the most saved between Fuel Map 1 and Fuel Map, well, the emergency fuel saving. Does save a lot of fuel, okay? Yes, it doesn't have the most fuel, but performance-wise, it is very good. This is a fuel-saving car, okay? If you have a fuel-saving race and you really, really need to save fuel and the multiplier is high, the Beetle looks like it's the one for you. It's very good indeed. Big surprise to me. Obviously, if it's not losing that much performance with a Hard Shift, a quarter shift will be even better, and it will save even more fuel. Very good car in terms of fuel saving, this Volkswagen Beetle. It really is indeed. Now, we've done fuel. Let's have a look at the Tyre Wear test. So this is all about, of course, Daytona Tri-Oval first. We're just measuring how the tyres wear in terms of the weight of the car, because that's how it works in GT Sports. I know some of you have heard this many, many, many times as I've done this video, but it's just to re-emphasize that to anybody new watching this video as we continue on round. So all we're doing is going to lap here. So we've done one lap there. We continue on. We're waiting for one of the tyres to wear out. It's normally the right rear tyre. We can see it's going down here. It's times 50 tyre wear. I know some of you have asked for the parameters for this. It'll go on the website with everything else once I get to it, of course, as we continue on round here. Lap number 3 then, and it's just finished there. Okay, so we add up lap 1, lap 2, you can see that on the right side, and also where we're at on lap number 3, so the 90.022. That gives us an overall time of how long the tyres lasted. We also do a human test then, a circuit, of course. So we go into here and we just keep lapping until one tyre runs out. And that's what we're going to do here. So what we're going to do actually is advance to lap number 5. There we go. Advance a bit later on than normal as we continue on. So last week on another car profile, it's only lap 4 we advanced to. We've done an extra lap here. So we're already beating that car, and that will be linked at the end of this video if you want to check that car profile out as we go into the right-hander then and continue on out of there. Now, I'm staying in 4th just to avoid the 3rd gear issue. Didn't really have any differences there as we continue on round, but we are starting to struggle with a bit of understeer in this car with that tyre wear running out. And it's actually the front left which is getting low. I mean, the right rear is getting left, but the front left a little bit lower then as we continue out of that last corner then. Looks like we're about to start lap number 6. We don't see this very often, actually. So we already know it's going to be pretty good on tyre wear, it looks like, as we head across the line at 52.9 as we head towards turn number 1. Hard on the brake then as we go into turn number 1. Lap number 6 is where we're at. See that struggle of understeer. In fact, the tyre wear's just ran out there. Okay. So again, like the other test, we add up laps 1 to 5 and the also 8.926 that we've got on the front of our screen there. We add all that up and it gives us an overall time. So let's go into some more tables for you if you want to pick the Volkswagen, of course, as your manufacturer. The oval test came P7. Not too shabby at all. It's very much up there in terms of tyre wear test, or tyre wear in that regard, which is a surprise because it's a very heavy car. So weight is showing it's not as impactful in GT7 as it was in GT Sport. Very, very interesting indeed, in my opinion. It could be the fact that it's got lower speed there, maybe having an impact on the oval. I don't know, but you can see that right here. Right, that's the end of the oval section. Obviously, we do MR versus FR, and the MRs are all at the back because their rear tyres go first because all the weight's over that rear end. We jump to the circuit test where, once again, it's in that top 10. Very close to the GT3 Evo there. So, again, Volkswagen Beetle, very good on fuel. One of the best fuel savers and very good on tyre wear as well, it looks like. So, in terms of an endurance car, the Beetle is it, apparently. It could be the short wheelbase helping with the tyre wear as well. Just looking at the car to my right here. The short wheelbase could help. Obviously, all the weight is over that front wheel. So that's why it just went first. And that means the rears just last longer. Who knows? Who knows in terms of the weight distribution? Now, we need to go to the next table then, which is top speed. So you can see 174 there for the 4GT LM Race Car Spec 2. It's also why it's so good at Daytona this week. It is a fast car. And some of those top cars, maybe the ones that can compete with it. Of course, I've got to pick one for Beat the Meta. And you can put your vote for Beat the Meta in the comments, okay? Because that's all car profile. Because we have to do Beat the Meta to do a car profile. And the Volkswagen Beetle there, one of the slowest cars in terms of Bathurst top speed trap. So don't pick this car. I did actually try this at St. Croissant, as we call it. This car was dreadful. That's why I didn't do Beat the Meta on that particular week. In summary then, so we've got the top 7 cars there, which I will call the meta cars. P8 downwards is the mid-pack, is what I call it. Okay, so the Renault RX-01 downwards. And the Volkswagen Beetle very much at the forefront of that mid-pack. A very good car indeed, this Volkswagen Beetle. Better than expected. Really is better than expected. I wasn't expecting it to do that well, but it very much leads the mid-pack. And in terms of fuel and tyre wear, it's very much up near the front as well. In terms of fuel, it's at the front, in my opinion. Very much up there indeed. That is going to be it, though, in terms of all the tables and data for you. Volkswagen Beetle, better than expected, in my opinion. It really was indeed. Now, if you did like this video, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content. And in the comments, let me know what you want to see next in terms of the car profiles. Of course, the ones you've seen in the tables, I've already done. That's in the description as well. And there are 2 videos there to check out, including the Beetle's Beat the Meta video. And also, you've got the previous car profile that I've done as well. A big thank you for watching, as always. I appreciate all the support you do give the channel and me as well, of course. And I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.